Hey! What? Why? Could it be? What? Come on.
In other words...
Hey.
What?
Is that right? Indeed.
Let's go.
But... Correct. That's right. Whew. So... However... Wrong. In other words...
Just a second!
Makoto. It would seem... Goodbye.
I can't wait! I can't wait! Thrills!
Let's begin with a basic explanation of if you can figure out who an aisle
Okay,
Well then, let's discuss this, but first we need to clarify who exactly the unidentified victim is.
It's Kyoko. There's no other explanation.
But Kyoko's standing right there.
No, that's a ghost.
But she has legs and stuff.
Well, that's just she's like the latest evolution in ghost tech.
There's a limit to how much ridiculousness.
Okay. So I just have to prove that the corpse isn't Kyoko, right? Then let's compare Kyoko's traits to the traits of the dead body.
Her trait?
I got it! I'm talking about her gloves. They'll give us some insight into the mystery.
In that case, I think it would be helpful if someone explained why she actually wears those gloves.
And would you happen to know the answer?
In fact, Monokuma told me. Apparently you have scars on your hands you don't.
Oh! You know, now that
They probably just got burnt up in the. I'm not convinced. The ghost is. That Kyoko there is just a ghost.
Impossible.
Okay, then prove it. Prove she's not a ghost.
The dead body wasn't wearing gloves.
They got burnt up in the explosion.
Then she was wearing gloves before the explosion.
Well, yeah, she must have been wearing gloves. Because that corpse is absolutely Kyoko.
this entire discussion is idiotic.
That Kyoko there is just a ghost.
Impossible.
Okay, then prove it. Prove she's not a
The
ghost.
dead body wasn't wearing gloves.
They got burnt up in the explosion.
Then she was wearing gloves before the explosion.
Well, yeah, she must have been wearing gloves. Because that corpse is absolutely Kyoko.
This entire discussion is idiotic.
That Kyoko there is. Okay, then prove
The dead body wasn't wearing.
they got burnt up in the.
Then she was wearing gloves.
Well, yeah, she must have been wearing gloves.
No, that's wrong. No. There's no way the corpse was wearing gloves. Whoever it was, they were wearing fake nails, remember? I imagine trying to wear gloves over nails like that would have been... Besides, Kyoko wears gloves to hide her hands, right? It'd be pretty weird for someone who's self-conscious about their hands to wear...
Jeez, man, you don't know women, huh? They're complicated.
Anyone doesn't know women.
Well, Kyoko,
These gloves were custom made to the size of my hands to make sure they don't interfere with my daily life. If I wore fake nails, the gloves wouldn't fit properly.
Then that's that. The dead body doesn't belong...
which should have been obvious since she's
Okay, so then, who's the real victim?
That's the first thing I said. You're the...
If Kyoko really is still alive, then who died?
There's gotta be some way to figure it out. I don't think so. The face was scorched beyond recognition. And there wasn't any description in the Monokuma. Oh, if we can't identify the body...
Then there's nothing else we can do, right? Kyoko really is.
Then who does?
It's gotta be. I don't think so. The face was scorched beyond recognition, and there wasn't any description in the Monaco. Well, if we can't identify the body.
Milk is wrong. There was one clue left behind that we can use to identify.
What? If you're lying, you'll die a cruel and
Cruel and unusual.
She's just being stupid. Ignore them, Makoto. Tell us what you're talking.
The key to figuring out who is the tattoo on the back of her hand.
Oh yeah. The design's pretty. Her master must have made her get it to be like, you're.
Seriously? They really did something that humiliating?
No, that's not it. The identity of the victim is hidden within that.
Oh,
The Fenrir Mercenary Corps. That's the name of the military group.
Okay.
To show that they're a member of the team, each would get a tattoo representing Fenrir somewhere on their body.
Understand? The representation of
Fenrir, the Wolf of Ragnarok. It's from Norse mythology. He's the child of the trickster god Loki.
Man, after all this time, we've...
A wolf tattoo.
Exactly. The body we found had a tattoo, which means that person must have once belonged to... So it must have been Mukuro.
What?
Hold on. Isn't she the one that was behind this whole...
You sound... Yes, indeed. The trial this time is to solve the...
Are you saying the mastermind is dead?
No. It means we were wrong in thinking that Mukuro was the...
But I mean, being the ultimate despair seems like a pretty...
Maybe we shouldn't have been thinking of her as the ultimate despair. After all, looking at her profile, I didn't see all it said was that she was the ultimate soldier. If I remember correctly, that other one from Kyoko, that's what you
So that means...
Who was she? She's been gone this whole time? And when she finally turned... Usually when there's a scene where an important character dies, it has a lot...
So you're saying she wasn't an important, which would mean she was the same as us. Just another...
Then, who's the
It must have been the Hope's Peak Academy headmaster after...
No, the headmaster has no...
But how can we trust that? We already know your information...
My information was...
Okay. We're in the middle of a trial right now. Figure please limit all future prattle, chatter, and...
Fine. Uncovering the identity of the mastermind will have to wait. No matter what happens, we will find out who you really are. I stake my family name on it.
I have officially decided to complete... Now then, just so nobody's confused, the reason we're having a class trial is because a hammer that point straight...
What you're saying is that both the victim and the culprit are part of the
Then, one of...
Wait, no! There's a chance that there's some mystery 17th person who's been hiding all...
Nope! There are only 16 students in total that have been taking part in these...
Seriously? Then, one of us?
Who did it? Who's...
Get a hold of yourself. We've already narrowed down the list of possible... I'm sure you realize who I'm talking about, right, Makoto? Who the evidence points to?
You've narrowed it down to Kyoko and me, right?
Why do you say that?
Allow me to... It's just after nighttime last night, I went to the garden, so I can confirm that at that point, there was no dead body there. So, the murder must have taken place after I left the garden. However, Hiro, Toko, Hina, and I were in the gym...
The gym?
That's right. The four of us were there trying to... The whole time, we were very careful not to go anywhere alone. We even went to the bathroom, all of which is to say, the four of us all have alibis.
Are me and Makoto. That's why you're...
Exactly so.
I have something
Are you thinking of raising an objection?
Well, before that, I just want to try and get a better idea of what time the murder took place. Doing that might reveal some kind of...
Whatever you want. Somebody go ahead and help me.
Me and Byakuya can both confirm that the body, well, it was after nighttime for sure. I'd say it must have been, so the murder must have happened after...
Then I guess we can say the time frame for the murder was between then and when we found... Oh, but what time did we...
The one who saw the body first was Toko, right?
The body must have been discovered at 9 a.m., since that's when Toko went to get the pickaxe.
He's right. It had to be around then.
So we can be totally sure the murder happened sometime between 10 at night.
For me, I was already asleep before nighttime hit, so I don't have an alibi after 10 o'clock. But I'm sure I met up with everyone else before 9 this morning.
We ran into each other in the dining hall, right? That was... Oh yeah! Right around 7:30. I remember checking right before I went in, so I'm totally sure about it.
Which means from 10 p.m. to 7:30 a.m., you don't have an alibi.
We've established a time frame for the murder. It took place somewhere between 10 o'clock at night and 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yep, and Makoto doesn't have an alibi for most of that time.
Yeah, from 10 o'clock to 7:30.
That's more than enough time to commit murder.
So Makoto, if you have any objections, now would be the time. We've established a time frame.
It took place somewhere between 10 o'clock and...
No, that's wrong! Actually, the murder couldn't have happened anywhere near 10 o'clock.
And what makes you say...
Because of the sprinklers are set to go off right at 7:30 every morning. So if the body had been in the garden before 7, then it should have been completely soaked.
Oh, hold on! I remember this part. The body was wet. Dripping wet, in fact.
Sorry, Toko, but you're wrong.
I'm wrong? How? Are you saying only the mouth down south was wet? How dare...
No, I'm saying that the body was wet, but not because of the sprinklers.
What do you mean by denying the sprinkler?
Man,
If you really think it wasn't the... You'd better tell us what... I admit nothing. I hate you. No, no, no! I don't know anything! Hold on! Are you trying to blame me? I admit nothing. I hate you. No, no, no! I don't know anything! Hold on! Are you trying to blame me? I admit nothing. Are you trying to blame me? I admit nothing. I hate you. No, no, no! killer.
This should prove it. Just remember what the body was like after the explosion. The top half of the body was wet, yes, but the bottom half was completely dry. If the sprinklers got the body wet, shouldn't the...
Oh, they only got the top wet? The bottom was completely dry. I'm so sick of her.
Let's just move on. The reason only the top half was wet was because... while the body was still on fire, I doused it with water. But only the part on fire, the top half.
Then I guess the sprinklers really didn't do it.
So if the sprinklers didn't get the body wet, sometime after the sprinklers turned on at 7:30 in the morning.
Which means she must have been killed sometime between then and when the body...
But Makoto's alibi was only missing from 10 o'clock last...
So there's no way Makoto could have done it! I guess you had an alibi after all. Good for you!
In which case, the only one left without an alibi.
I'd just like to say one thing. If you vote for me, and I die here, which is why...
So are you saying...
Of course I'm not. This is a trap to mastermind.
A trap?
We're this far into the game and stop wasting time! Stop wasting energy! You really think your little trick...
Shut up, you!
You got it, boss! Shut up.
Anyway, Kyoko, you actually did have a reason.
Huh? She did.
She thought Mukuro was the ultimate despair, so she killed her to try and put a stop to it. But you made one catastrophic mistake. Mukuro wasn't the... And as a result, we were forced into another trial. Something I'm sure you weren't at all expecting.
So, that was her motive?
If she had a motive and no alibi, well then... I think it's pretty clear Kyoko's gotta be the culprit.
I'm not the only one without an alibi. The sprinklers didn't get the body wet, but that doesn't mean the murder happened when he said it.
What are you...
Because you see, there is a way the body could have...
Interesting.
All it would take is covering the body with a certain something to keep it from getting wet.
I got it! You're talking about the...
You catch on quick. You're right. All you'd have to do is cover the body with the tarp, and that'd take care of the water. In fact, that's exactly what the killer did. The dirt pattern on the tarp can attest to that. Only one side of the tarp got dirty, because that's the side that got covered in water. The side that faced down over the body, meanwhile, kept perfectly clean. This proves that the killer used the tarp to keep the body from getting soaked.
But why would they go to all that effort just to keep the body from getting wet?
Most likely so they could cloud the issue of when the murder actually took place. In other words, to create an excuse exactly like the one Makoto...
Wait.
And what might that be? By covering the body with the tarp, the killer prevented it from getting wet.
So the reason the tarp was only dirty on one side is because the sprinkler got that side wet.
But the underside of the tarp, it was totally spotless, right?
It's because that side was protected from the water. Since it was facing down toward the body, of course it didn't get dirty!
By covering the body with the tarp, the killer prevented it from getting wet.
So the reason the tarp was only dirty on one side, because the sprinkler got that side wet.
But the underside of the tarp, it was totally spotless, right?
It's because that side was protected from the water. Since it was facing down toward the body, of course it didn't get dirty!
No, that's wrong! Actually, one side being clean is pretty strange. Because the blood wasn't dry before the body got blown up, right? Byakuya said it himself. Not to touch it, or you might get some on you. If you put a tarp on a body in that state, it absolutely...
Well, maybe the culprit washed it, so nobody would know they'd used it.
If they had, they would have washed both sides. Thus, washing the one side wouldn't hide anything.
Oh! Yeah, true.
More than that, what if the very blood we saw on the body was meant as a kind of camouflage? What if, after the killer used the tarp, they then covered the body in blood that didn't belong to the victim?
You mean someone else's blood?
I know! They could have grabbed some of the blood packs from the nurse's office! That's what Hifumi did, right? When he pretended to be dead?
No, that's not what happened this time. The killer got the blood from right there in the garden.
I got it! Could it have been...
What?
When I checked the chicken coop before the murder... But after the murder, there were...
So, you're saying someone killed a chicken? Man!
Killing a living thing just to do something like that is awful. They should have at least eaten.
I wonder if the killer had to get the blood from the scene so they wouldn't be spotted. Anyway, there's no denying that a chicken went missing, which provides a basis for my theory.
Perhaps, but even so, there's one thing that still doesn't make sense. You said the culprit used the tarp to avoid the water and then covered the body. But if that's the case, then the blood should have soaked into the ground around. But that's not what we saw. Only the victim's clothing had the ground was completely clean.
I have to agree, that certainly is. Maybe they didn't apply the blood at the scene. Maybe they covered the coat in blood before they covered it. When you discovered the body, was it wearing the coat like you,
Wait, no. The head was through the neck hole, but the arms weren't in the sleeve.
Then that settled.
Sorry, I'm having a tough time keeping up. What settles what?
Here's what happened. The murder took place before the sprinklers went off, but the body didn't get wet because the killer covered it with the tarp. Then, later, at the same time the killer was gathering up they pulled the coat over the body. The coat they'd already covered in blood. This series of cover-ups was meant to disguise the actual time the murder. They wanted us to think the murder happened sometime after the sprinklers had gone off, at 7.
If that's actually what took place, it certainly becomes possible that the murder happened earlier.
But to pull out, wouldn't they have had to go back to the garden after the sprinklers turned?
That actually wouldn't have been all that difficult, huh? They already had the coat ready, so they just had to grab the tarp and pull the... They'd be done in no time. Maybe. Hina, After you met up with Makoto in the dining hall, did you two stay together from that point?
Oh, no. I headed off to the gym, and
Then he had plenty of time to spare. Don't bother saying it's not possible.
I must admit, Kyoko's reasoning is sound. Makoto's alibi is... Well then, it looks like we're back to square. Makoto's alibi is no good, so once again, our suspects are him and Kyoko.
For serious, man? Which one? Hey, why don't we let luck decide? Let's flip a coin.
oh,
See? Pretty
no, not that.
Well, don't just stand there.
You know that knife we found all black and...
one we found stuck in the body before it exploded, right? According to the Monokuma file, the knife went all the way through, from front to back. So, what about it?
I'm pretty sure I'd seen that knife somewhere before. That's what I thought when I first saw it. I just remembered.
It's the knife?
You don't seem surprised. You...
Yeah,
Then why did you hide that?
it's not that I hid it.
Suspicious! The knife we found stuck in the body came from Makoto. Now I'm totally convinced he did it! 12,000% convinced!
The knife we found lodged in the dead body.
It's the same one we gave to Makoto.
It really is, isn't it? I was afraid of that.
If he did have that knife before, then that seals it! Makoto did it!
Just because I had the knife once, that automatically makes me the killer?
Well, getting stabbed is what killed her, so there's no question. You took that knife of yours and killed her with it.
What a horrible man you are, Makoto. The knife we found lodged in the dead body.
It's the same one we gave to Makoto.
It really is, isn't it? I was afraid of that.
If he did have that knife, that seals it.
Just because I had the that automatic?
Well, getting stabbed is what killed her, right? So there's no question. You took that knife of yours and killed her with it.
What a horrible man you are, Makoto. The knife we found lodged in the dead body.
It's the same one. We gave to Makoto.
It really is, isn't it? I was afraid of that.
If he did have that knife, that seals it. Just because I had the knife, that automatically makes...
Well, getting stabbed is what killed her, right? So there's no question. You took that knife of yours...
What a horrible man you are, Makoto. The knife we found lodged in the dead body. It's the same one we gave to Makoto. It really is, isn't it? I was afraid of that.
If he did have that knife before, then that seals it. Makoto did it.
Just because I had the knife once, that automatically... He makes me the killer?
Well, getting stabbed is what killed her, right? So there's no question. You took that knife of yours and killed her.
What a horrible man you are, Makoto. The knife we found lodged in the... It's the same one we gave to Makoto. It really is, isn't it?
If he did have that knife, that seals it. Makoto,
Just because I had the knife, that automatically...
well, getting stabbed is, so there's no question. You took that knife.
What a horrible man you are, Makoto. The knife we found lodged in the dead body. It's the same one. It really is, isn't it?
If he did have that seals it. Just because I had that automatic...
Well, getting stabbed is what killed.
No, that's wrong. Wait, hold on. That should be clear from the description of...
Lies! We never talked about...
No, don't. The killer covered the dead body with the tarp and then put the bloody... In other words, the victim never wore that blood-stained coat.
Okay, fine.
So, when the knife had been thrust through the coat along... Meaning, if she wasn't stabbed until the coat was put on, obviously the stab wound isn't...
Maybe you stabbed her twice. Once to kill her and...
I got it! The Monokuma file clearly states that there was...
Oh yeah, it sure did.
Then the knife...
was just another piece of camouflage set up. They probably stabbed her to draw attention, exploding the body. The explosion severely damaged the body, making it was all the killer's attempt to destroy all...
So they wanted us to notice the stab wound, and then they meant for us to latch onto the knife as the cause of death.
Oh, hey, I have a question. What's the deal with that explosion and...
If you bothered to put that lump of gray matter between...
Well, if you're so smart...
I'll tell you. I bet some unknown quantum particle caused...
I might be dumb, but even I'm not dumb enough to believe...
Go ahead, Makoto.
After the explosion, we found a tiny... That fragment reveals the cop...
Huh? You know...
That's only natural. We saw the same thing when we just... It's part of a book.
Oh! Then the explosion...
Anyway, the culprit's motive has become they wanted the knife wound to look like the fatal injury so that we'd suspect Makoto. And the only one who would benefit from that is the only other possible suspect. You.
Hold on a second, Byakuya.
What's the problem?
Well, I just feel like we need to think this through. We still don't know what...
That's true. It's definitely bugged.
Fine. I have no problem with that. It won't change the facts of the case. shall we continue the debate? The victim's fatal injury has yet to be determined, correct?
The explosion didn't kill her for sure. Yes.
Well, yeah. She was already totally dead.
And it wasn't you because of the knife, right? And then there's only one other thing.
Oh, yeah. That's gotta be it. There was evidence that showed she was hit on the back.
And more than that, the victim had suffered countless wounds across her entire body. Then shall we continue the victim's fatal injury has yet to be determined, correct?
The explosion didn't kill her for sure. Yes.
Well, yeah. She was already totally...
And it wasn't you because of the knife, right? And then there's only one other thing.
Oh, yeah. According to them, that's gotta be it. There was evidence that showed she was hit on the back of her head.
And more than that, the victim had suffered countless wounds across her entire body. Then shall we continue? The victim's fatal injury has yet to be determined.
The explosion didn't kill her for sure.
Well, yeah.
And it wasn't you because of the knife, right? And then there's a...
Oh, yeah. That's gotta be it. There was evidence that showed she was hit on the back of her head. Shoot!
Then shall we continue? The victim's fatal... The explosion didn't kill...
Well, yeah.
And it wasn't you, and then...
Oh, yeah. According to that's gotta be it. There was evidence that showed she was hit on the...
And more than that, the victim had suffered countless wounds across her entire body. Then shall we continue the victim's
fatal injury has...
Milton's wrong! Mukuro died because of the blow to the back of the head she suffered.
What about the wounds all over the rest of her body? They didn't have anything to do with it?
The Monokuma file makes it clear that those weren't fresh...
Oh yeah, good point. If they were old, I guess they don't...
Okay, then we're safe in assuming the blow to the back of her head is what killed her.
But then... what was the murder weapon? The Monokuma file says she was hit with a blunt object. About as thick as...
Oh! I bet it was the pickaxe!
How is that even possible? If you hit someone with that...
Well, maybe they held it the other way and hit her with the...
No way! The balance would be all off. You wouldn't be able to... I wouldn't mind testing it on you.
No thanks. I bet you just hit me with the metal end and call it an accident.
I'd love to scoop out that nasty brain of yours, throw it on the ground and...
I feel the same way!
Seriously?
We want to figure out what killed her, right? It just so happens we already know.
We already know? I knew we could...
So what was it?
Go ahead and tell them, Makoto. Surely you've deduced the real murder weapon?
Mukuro was hit in the back of the head with something. And that something was the titanium
arrow.
Indeed. There.
Are you sure? Hey! How dare you backtalk me? I'm not backtalking anything. I'm just saying what I think.
The titanium arrow. It was in the dojo locker, right? I have no doubt that was the murder weapon.
Are you sure?
You don't sound convinced.
Well, it said the weapon must have been about as thick as a metal. It seems like an arrow would just be too thin. Talking back to Master, you have no right!
The titanium arrow. It was in the dojo locker, right? I have no doubt that was the murder weapon.
Are you sure?
You don't sound convinced.
Well, It said the weapon must have been about as thick as a metal pipe, right? It seems like an arrow would just be too thin.
Talking back to Master!
You have no right!
The titanium arrow.
It was in the dojo.
I have no doubt that was the murder weapon.
Are you sure?
You don't sound convinced.
Well, it said the weapon must... It seems like an arrow. Talking back to me. You have no right!
The titanium, it was in the dojo. I have
No doubt that was the murder weapon.
Shoot!
The titanium arrow. It was in the dojo locker, right? I have no doubt
That was the murder weapon.
Shoot! The titanium
arrow. It was in the dojo. I have no doubt.
Are you sure?
You don't sound
Well, it said the weapon must have been... It seems like an arrow would just be too thin. Talking back to... You have no right!
The titanium arrow. It was in the dojo locker. I have
No doubt that was the murder weapon.
Shoot! The titanium arrow. It was in the dojo locker, right? I have no doubt that was the
Murder weapon.
Shoot! The titanium arrow. It was in the dojo locker, right? I have no doubt
That was the murder weapon.
Shoot!
I refuse to give up yet!
The titanium arrow.
It was in the dojo. I have no doubt.
Are you sure?
You don't sound convinced.
Well, it said the weapon must have been about as thick. It seems like an arrow would just be too thick.
No, that's wrong! You're right. Just the one arrow would have been too weak.
Another weapon?
Inside the dojo locker, we all... The killer probably uses duct tape. Bundling them together using the duct tape would easily create a single weapon as thick as a pipe. And that's exactly what the...
It's similar to Aesop's fable about the bundle of sticks. One stick is weak, but put them together, and they become strong.
Man, that's harsh.
How is it harsh?
Anyway, as for who the culprit is that stashed the weapon in the... It was you!
I've never been to the...
Oh no.
How can you say that with such...
Because we have proof, of course. Surely you don't. You know what will happen if you do. If you cover for the culprit, there's only one thing: the death of us all. Then show us. Show everyone.
I got it! The one thing that proves right here. The key...
And how does that prove?
Because...
It was...
Don't bother trying to... That key is just the final piece of the puzzle. Your non-existent alibi, your clear motive, This all proves that you are the true culprit.
Hold on, it's
Not this again. You really are...
No, it's not. There's one more thing I need to... Kyoko. Last night. Why? That's what I need to know.
I was just... protecting you.
What?
That's enough. The time for idle chatter is over.
Wait, I'm warning you. Don't make this mistake.
I knew you were stubborn, but this is...
Really? But you should know better than anyone. Can you tell me I'm wrong?
Those words you just spoke. What do you mean?
Exactly what I said. I'm not the killer. You should understand that more than anyone here.
Byakuya!
Master would never hide something from me!
There's proof that you aren't the culprit. Is that what you're saying?
You stated a theory earlier. You said I hid the evidence of my crime in the dojo locker, and then left the locker key in my own room, correct? But could I really have done that?
Those words you just spoke. What do you mean?
Exactly. I'm not the killer. You should understand.
Byakuya!
Master would never hide.
There's proof that you aren't the culprit. Is that what you're saying?
You stated a theory. You said I hid the
And then left the locker key in my own room, correct?
Shoot!
Those words you just spoke. What do you mean?
Exactly what I'm not the killer. You should understand.
Byakuya!
Master would never hide.
There's proof that you aren't the culprit.
Is that what you're...
You stated a theory. You said I hid the evidence.
And then left the locker key in my own room, correct?
Shoot!
Those words you just...
Exactly. I'm not the... You should understand.
Byakuya!
Master would never.
There's proof that you are... Is that what you're...
You stated a theory. You said I hid the evidence of my crime in the and then left the locker key in my own room, correct? But could I really have done that?
Those words you just spoke.
Exactly what I'm not the... You should understand.
Byakuya!
Master would never hide.
There's
Proof that you aren't the culprit.
No, that's wrong. If I'm right, Kyoko would...
What?
Because she had given her room key to Byakuya.
I see. And if I had the key to your...
Then obviously, without my room key, I couldn't have possibly put the locker key in there myself. Am I wrong?
It would appear...
Then you're finally starting to understand.
There was a lie hidden within Kyoko's statement.
A lie?
Isn't that right?
You said it. The burden of proof is on you, so let's hear it. I didn't have the key to my room, because I'd given it to Byakuya. There's no doubt about that, right?
You are correct.
So I couldn't possibly have gotten into my room.
Then, when we searched Kyoko's room... How else could the key have gotten?
Someone other than me
Me must have put it there. That's the only explanation. I didn't have it because I'd
given it to Byakuya.
There's no doubt about
You are correct.
So I couldn't possibly have gotten into my room.
Then, When we searched, how else could the...
Someone other than me must have put it there. That's the only explanation. I didn't have because I'd given it. There's no doubt.
You are correct.
So I couldn't
Possibly have gotten into my room.
No, that's wrong. No, you said so yourself.
Monokuma's...
Kyoko stole it from the headmaster, which means she could have...
Then I guess that's it.
You're giving up just like that?
No, I'm simply... What are you... Like I said, this was a trap, so I lost. That's all.
Kyoko aren't the killer.
Okay!
Huh?
I'm sorry to say, but you're...
But that's what...
It's because you were late! So then, but I guess we already know who... Now then, I've prepared a very... Let's give it everything we've got!
Makoto, why are you staring off into space? Don't you have... Well, have you decided to accept her... I see. So you still refuse to accept... I suppose we have to admit that Kyoko...
Who else could it...
I mean, Byakuya had a room.
You!
But of course, I have an alibi. From nighttime on, I was with... I couldn't possibly have killed it.
Someone.
There's only one other... Someone could have had... I don't...
Wait a second. Let's think about it one more time. There's gotta be a...
Huh? A hit?
First of all, there's something off about this entire trial. You all see it, don't you? Mukuro, who we didn't even know existed, suddenly shows up, and Kyoko even said, it's a trap the mastermind set for us. So that's why this has...
Okay!
Huh?
Time's up! Class trial's all over! Everyone can stop talking now!
What?
What do you mean time's up?
It's because you were late. So we had to. So then, it's time for voting time, okay?
Voting time?
Now, who will be chosen as the... Hey, what's it gonna be? What?
Sorry.
Yes, indeed. Yep. Hey! Shing! Thrills, chills, kills!
I don't expect you to forgive me.
Let's give it every...
It would seem...
What the?
In other words, calm down. In other words,
What did you say?
so Just a second. It smells... Indeed. So... Hey. Hmm?